we have successfully survived the San Diego season of Married at First Sight. Well, we still got the reunion and whatever other garbage they want to throw at us, but we have got through decision days. Our couples have made their decisions. One of them changed their mind after making the decision, but we are done with this absolute dumpster fire of a season, and hopefully can just move on to something better in the future, because honestly, I don't think it's possible for Married at First Sight to do worse than they did this season. First off, the matchmaking has got to change. We need actual matchmaking. Can we hire one real matchmaker for this show? I know that any single fan of the show could do better matchmaking than what has gone on in recent seasons. It's becoming very, very clear that these couples are being put together for the ratings, not for them being actual good couples. Like you look at Dr. Pepper and Pastor Cal, like they have to be an absolute laughing stock in their fields, because their names are tied to this show, and this show is an absolute joke. Like they're putting their names behind this matchmaking. Like look at Morgan and Ben. Like that's absurd. Like somebody tried to pass them off as a viable couple. Alexis and Justin, like very clearly those two weren't going to work. You know, yes, sure, they said yes on decision day. They got divorced a day later. Kristen and Mitch, you did not put Mitch on this show so that he could get a happy ending. You got him on the show so we could watch him get divorced. It's like very, very clear. Even Lindy and Miguel, like they're not a match. They just are not. Like, yeah, sure, they said yes on decision day, but they are not good for each other. And maybe it's by the reunion, maybe it's further down the road, but that to me is an eventual divorce. And the only reason that they are still together is because Lindy wanted to be married so very, very badly that I think you could have put her with just about anyone and she would have said yes on decision day, no matter how bad it was. All right, let's actually go through our couples instead of me just having a rant. I know it's fun to just have a big old Married at First Sight rant, but let's actually talk about the decisions that were made today and the decisions that were changed immediately after. We'll just go through in order of appearance tonight. Stasha and Nate, these couples, like it was like decision day, like wham bam done, wham bam done. Like we just ripped through the 4 decisions in record time and had like half the show left afterwards, which was a little confusing because normally like they drag these decisions out a lot longer, but not this time. You know, we had Stasha, she showed up, she came out swinging for decision day. You know, I thought maybe she was either one of two things, trying to put Nate in his place, which I think she successfully did, or she was setting up to say no. And as we all know now, she was just trying to put Nate in his place because, you know, Stasha is the kind of person who needs to be on the top of a relationship. She does not want to be an equal partner. She does not want to be below somebody. She wants to be on the top and anyone else be her subordinate. And that is what she's been trying to push Nate into being all season long. Like we saw how quickly Stasha tried to twist things against Nate. And then I was glad that we heard Nate apologize and then immediately not give in to her, because he needs to have a backbone in that relationship. You know, that was like to compare them to Miguel and Lindy, where really it feels like Miguel is beating down Lindy so that she doesn't have that backbone to stand up to him. In this relationship, it's Stasha beating Nate down, but him still maintaining that backbone. And I think that is really what kept them going as a couple. Like if Nate would have just caved to Stasha. Like maybe they would have said yes on decision day, but they would not be happy. And in the end here, they're probably our best couple of the season, which when we were at the bachelor parties, I had written them off as a 100% no. Stasha, she repeatedly complains about Nate's lack of emotion, and then watching her give absolutely no emotion while Nate was pouring his heart out to her was almost comical in how hypocritical it was. You know, she wants all this emotion from him, and then in those tender moments is not willing to give anything back. It just seems a little strange to me. In terms of them staying together, I wouldn't be surprised either way. You know, I could see them still being together at the reunion and beyond, and also them not really lasting a week once the cameras go away. Next up, Alexis and Justin. As soon as they showed the couple on the screen, I was just hoping and praying that they would say no. But of course, they end up saying yes. And you could tell right away, so like they both had their moment, blah, blah, blah. I choose to say married. And there was zero affection between them. Like they had both just made this grand commitment to each other and then showed absolutely no desire to reach out and comfort that person in this moment, like no desire to embrace. They just kind of sat there. And that was like the moment, that's all you needed to know that these two, they are not making it to the reunion. And of course, they didn't. They end up getting divorced the next day. In fact, they started fighting like 20 minutes after their decision, which was not surprising because that's kind of how these two have gone all season long. They are probably the most toxic couple we've seen in Married at First Sight history. And that toxicity ran right to the end of this marriage, which was 8 weeks and a day. So it was just like you could even in that fight right after, like you could see Alexis just setting Justin up, just like she has in so many of their conflicts all season long, sets Justin up and then slams him to the ground, and then Justin spiraling out of control. That's pretty much their argument cycle that we saw all season long, and of course saw it again there, which led to their eventual divorce. And really, if someone just like, if you are happily married, you're in this wonderful relationship, and every 5 minutes your partner is just coming up to you and saying something along the lines of, well, do you want to get divorced now? Well, do you want to get divorced now? Well, do you want to get divorced now? Eventually, you're just going to cave and say, yeah, I want to get divorced. And that's really what led in that 12-hour period, 24-hour period, however long it was, from decision day to Alexis saying, I want a divorce. Like Justin just kept at her and at her and at her until she says no. Like his biggest fear, he said, was her quitting. But how do you stand up to that level of emotional assault that Justin ended up doing as a result of the post-decision day fight? So they're no longer married. It looks like Justin is going to be the big a-hole at the reunion, and yeah, that could be pretty interesting. Let's jump over to Lindy and Miguel. One of the first descriptors that was used about their relationship is how exhausting it was. And if your relationship is ever exhausting, like not that your life is exhausting, but actually the relationship is exhausting, you probably shouldn't be in that relationship. I really just don't understand Lindy saying yes. It really just doesn't make any sense to me at all. Like the way that we saw Miguel treat her just isn't the way someone should be treated in a marriage. the way that he just kind of, I don't even know how to put it, like really controlled and manipulated. There was some moments of gaslighting in there by Miguel, and yet still Lindy wants the marriage so badly that she's willing to overlook all of that, overlook any rational thought that goes through her mind, and says yes. You know, this is just such a bad match. It was right from the start, and this feels like a future divorce in my opinion. Lastly, we have Kristen and Mitch. I was kind of happy to see them both say no. Seemed like we were going to end their relationship, you know, just on a very just good, like, yes, they said no, but it was just like good terms. They both spoke very well at decision day. I thought they both made very good points. You know, like Mitch very much saying that he thinks that Kristen deserves somebody who is all in, somebody who's going to be there for her more than he can be. And you know, that seemed like that was like just such a happy ending for them. And then we fast forward to that day later when they're sitting around talking about their decisions. You know, they announced that they decided to not stay married, and Kristen said that she's going to leave the door open, but if Mitch wants to open that door, he better be 100% into the marriage and ready to knock her up immediately. And even then we could have ended, and it would have been like, will they, won't they, just kind of fade off into the sunset. But Alexis and Lindy looked like, well, especially Lindy, looked like she'd been having a few too many drinks. They had to pounce on Mitch, and Mitch did one of his famous Mitch moves, and you know, it's from all that yoga he's been doing, so flexible that he has this uncanny ability to put his foot in his mouth at any possible moment. And of course he did here in this moment. He kind of got backed into a corner, said some stuff that was very blunt, very hurtful, and that veil of honesty, which is actually used just to be mean to somebody else, that's what Mitch uses in this moment, and shuts the door on any potential for them as a relationship. And you know, Kristen really didn't seem to respond well to that. Seemed like she was a little sour about that. That, you know, part of her really wanted that door to still be open, but honestly I think it's probably healthier for her long term if that door is slammed shut. So that's going to wrap things up for decision day. I'll be back again for the reunion. It looks like it's going to be about as big of a disaster as this season was, and I will of course be there to cover it. So as always, everybody, thank you so much for watching, and I'm out.